Megan, thank you for joining the Last Day podcast.
Happy to be here. Nice to meet you, Danny.
Nice to meet you. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Megan. I'm originally from Northern Michigan. I just moved to Austin at the beginning of June. I've spent the last almost 10 years all over the Southeast, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. And I'm going through a divorce and just re-entering the dating world.
That's exciting.
Yes, exciting. We'll use that word for now.
Well, welcome to Austin. It sounds like this is a new chapter for you.
Yeah, very new chapter and a very fun chapter.
That's great. Well, one thing I noticed about this is only through Instagram, but it seems like you have been very quick to make friends and surround yourself with community. And I wanted to ask yourself, how does one do that? Do you mind if I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 37.
All right, you're 37. I think a lot of people who are in their 30s in particular wonder, how do I make friends post-college or in this stage of my life? So how are you doing this? Because you seem to be an expert at it.
Well, when I entered my Austin era, I also decided I was going to enter my yes era. I really wanted to dive in, immerse myself in different communities here, and make the most out of just kind of putting myself out there. When I first moved here, I started going to a lot of different events like run clubs, yoga events. My very first day here, something I do whenever I move to a new city is I always look for an outdoor yoga class, and found myself at an outdoor yoga class in Mueller, literally day one here in Austin, made friends with the instructor who took me to a park picnic and a farmer's market afterwards. And I met friends literally my first day here, and that has just expanded, and it's been really beautiful.
That's really amazing. So how did you end up meeting the yoga instructor, and how did this lead to a picnic and farmer's market?
So when I was first getting ready to move to Austin, I was looking for how does one find friends in Austin, Texas? Because this is a new city for me and I didn't know anybody here. So Sweat Pals was a good suggestion. So I found a lot of events on Sweat Pals. I think that's actually where I found this yoga class. I quickly found that you almost have to be trying not to make friends in Austin. Like, people here really come across as very genuine, authentic. And I just feel like conversations happen easily and very organically. And as I started going to these events, it's like, well, hey, do you want to come play pickleball? Do you want to come climbing? Hey, we're having people over for dinner this week. Are you interested in joining? And people are very open here. It's been a really warm city to move to.
That's really nice.
Yeah.
And you seem like an outgoing person. So I'm guessing that when you show up to these events, you are going up to people and introducing yourself, I guess what I'm trying to get at, for the people who go to events and they're trying to unlock the cheat code for meeting people and having it organically turn into friendships and community, what advice do you have for these people?
Be open, be vulnerable, be willing to be a little uncomfortable, because I am extroverted, but I'm kind of an extroverted introvert. I have a little bit of shyness too. And I think putting yourself out there in a way that is authentic to yourself, but open to other people, is a good way to kind of bring people in. And I think being curious, asking questions, I think that's a really good way to get people out of their shells, is if you're asking questions about them, what they like to do, and it just kind of goes from there.
So this is a very specific question.
Okay.
But what is your opener? When you go up to someone at one of these events, or you went up to the yoga instructor at the end of the class, what are you saying that starts the conversation? I feel like that might be the most uncomfortable part, is walking up to someone new and introducing yourself.
I think for me, it was really easy. I got to use this opener of like, hi, I'm Megan. I'm brand new to Austin. I don't know anyone here.
Cool.
And
yeah.
just being open and being like, do you want to be my friend? Like, I know no one.
Did you actually say that?
Sometimes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sometimes. If it felt right.
Yeah. And people loved the energy? Like, they were like, or were they like,
some people really like the energy. Sometimes you have to learn when to dial it down a little bit.
Okay. Read the room.
Yeah, read the room.
Okay, cool. So you are new to dating in Austin as well.
Yes.
Can you tell me what it's like dating in Austin at the moment, especially in the context of doing it while going through a divorce?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first moved here, I was married for the last 7 years, in a relationship for almost the last 10. And I just realized, I was like, at 37 years old, I have not been a single adult human since my like early mid-20s. And I just kind of wanted to dip my toes back in the water at first. Take, like put the training wheels back on per se. So like the first thing was like, can I still do this? Like, what does meeting somebody for a date even feel like anymore? I mean, you haven't been on a first date in over a decade.
Right.
And just kind of putting myself through the discomfort of like going on a first date, because for me that was a little intimidating. Like meeting a brand new person for the first time again was tough.
I bet. What did that feel like, being on a first date for the first time with someone that wasn't your husband?
I was so nervous.
Yeah.
Like so nervous.
And how did it go? Well, first off, how did you meet this person? How did this come to be?
So when I first moved here, I was using the apps a little bit. So I think I dove pretty hard into Bumble and Hinge, and because I didn't really know anybody organically at that time, I was just very curious to even, I guess, like little litmus test, like what is the dating market even like here? Like what are the kinds of people who are single in this city? So yeah, that was kind of how I first went on like a couple reintroduction to dating dates.
And so what was the first date that you went on? Was it a complete flop, or was it something in the middle, or was it great?
So, something in the middle. I went on a couple park picnics and honestly like had a lot of fun. And I realized, I was like, this doesn't have to be high pressure. Like it doesn't have to be a high pressure situation.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of ripped off that Band-Aid, and I haven't had a terrible experience, but yeah, I think it was just kind of like, oh, okay, I can do this.
So being on the dating apps for the first time in 10 years, trying to get a feel for what's out there, what was your feel of what's out there?
Instantly, when I first started having a couple chats and a couple matches on the apps, it's like, oh, this actually hasn't changed since my mid-20s. Like this really has not changed much.
Okay.
It was like, say, like riding a bicycle, like taking, like it was just like it was where I left it 10 years ago.
And 10 years ago, what was the landscape of dating apps? Was it mainly Tinder at the time?
Tinder, Bumble was just kind of around. Hinge was not a thing. But yeah, I think like Tinder and Bumble were still around.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what does the dating app experience feel like? It sounds like exactly the same.
I will say one thing that has changed is you can actually set like your intentions on it, because I think, as somebody who's going through a divorce, especially when I like first moved here, was very, very fresh into that experience. Like I obviously don't want to be going on a date with somebody who was looking for their forever person right now.
Right.
Because like that's not what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And, for me, just being able to kind of set the intention of like, like looking for something a little bit more casual at this time, open for friendship that could potentially be something more, just open for casual dating, like that is a nice differentiator. And I don't remember if that was a thing like 10 years ago, but I do like that that's an option now.
Absolutely. So what were your dating goals back in June when you were dipping a toe in the dating pool again? And what are your dating goals now?
June was very much the like, let me make sure I still know how to be a single human, and like, what does this even feel like? And that's definitely evolved into a little bit more like, I'm not sure that I'm quite ready for my forever person, but like I am very open to finding a long-term partnership, and I'm also not trying to rush that experience. I'm very okay with being single and enjoying my friendships, enjoying this new chapter of my life. And I also think that, I have space for somebody if the right person comes along, but like I'm also not pushing it.
Sure. Well, I imagine being in a relationship for 10 years, you're wanting to
it's nice to have
get your
some
bearings.
breathing room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, something that you had mentioned when we chatted on our call was that you had identified a pattern of people that you've dated in the past, and you reflected on that pattern. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah. So I think, typically in the past, I have dated very, very rigid, schedule-driven type A people, because I can be kind of a little rigid and a little schedule-driven myself. And I noticed that I have always gravitated towards people who are a little bit avoidant too, who really don't know how to handle or resolve conflict and communicate that in a productive way. Mm-hmm. And I I just kind of seeing that pattern made me realize like first off, I've done a lot of work on myself, my own communication, really resolving a lot with myself from within first. But I do think that in my next partnership, I will really be focusing on somebody who is very growth minded, very, open to vulnerable communication, remembering that at the end of the day, like, we're partners working towards the same goal. Like we are not opponents.
Yeah.
And I think that, especially kind of like the growth mindedness and just more open communication and being able to address things kind of head on is something that I will be looking for.
I think that's great. And so how are you looking at people that you're dating within that lens? So it sounds like you might have had a type before and now you're expanding who you're dating. So what does that look like when you're expanding who you're dating?
I think like I've always gravitated towards like tall tattooed guys. And I am realizing that like, going for a physical type and even just, especially on the apps, I'm actually off the apps now. As of the beginning of the year,
Good for you.
It feels so freeing too. But I think that, I've always gravitated towards a type and just being open as I'm meeting people to people who I resonate with more on a personality level and goals level and not being so closed-minded about like, oh, well, this person doesn't have like the height I would normally go for, or doesn't have like the physique I would normally go for. Or like, even career. I think that just being more open to people from a variety of backgrounds, cultures, and mindsets, like it's helped me open up my mind as well.
That's really nice. Yeah. So what type of inner work did you do and what kind of inner work are you still doing?
Yeah. So a lot of it has been learning more about healthy communication, especially through conflict. So just learning more about healthy communication styles, learning more about boundaries and like where I need to put boundaries in place, because I have always kind of had a tendency to put myself and my own needs on the back burner. So remembering that like, I need to honor myself in order to show up as a whole person, to really, like before you can fill someone else's cup, you need to fill your own.
Yeah.
And just, putting myself first and really working on kind of those boundaries and communication has helped a lot.
Do you know your attachment style? Is that part of this?
Yeah, I was definitely, I used to be much more of an anxious attachment style.
Mm-hmm.
And I have found, just over the last couple of years, I've really put a lot of work into kind of unlearning things that were my patterns. And I will say that I do find myself to be much more on the secure end of things now.
That's really
And I
great.
think a lot of that has been like finding value and worth in myself.
Yes.
That I'm not really looking for that in somebody else as much now.
I agree. That's such a massive unlock, is understanding that if we can love ourselves, we're not going to need that from somebody else in the same type of way. There's not an external validation that is needed.
Exactly. I mean, you just use the word validation. And I think that in a lot of previous relationships, like I was seeking validation from my partner. And so that would just show up in overextending myself, bending over backwards and not really, honoring my own needs.
Yeah.
And not that ex-partners were ever asking me to give these things up, but it was just something that I think as kind of an anxious attachment style was like, well, let me help you. Let me serve you. Let me do this for you, to the point that you start kind of giving up things about yourself. So a lot of this has just been like really finding my own self-value, learning to stop seeking validation externally. And it's a lot of fun too.
Is it?
It is. Jesus. It's a lot of fun.
I don't know if the internal growth that I've done is particularly fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little messy sometimes, but it's relearning yourself at 37 years old. And I think for me, the fun part has been, I've been so attached to someone else for so long that I get to explore like, who am I as an individual? What do I like?
Yeah.
Like, what do I want to do on a Friday night? What do I want to what do I want for dinner tonight? And I mean, this sounds so silly, but it's just all these little micro habits that it's like you spend so long kind of bending to fit somebody else that it's like, wait, I get to be my own person, make all my own decisions now. It's been kind of fun to explore just the new iteration of myself.
That sounds really nice.
See, it is fun.
And healthy.
It is fun.
Good for you. I want to ask you about your previous relationship, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I have, and I think this is something a lot of people ask themselves when they're in a long-term relationship that's not feeling like it's working, is at what point do you decide to get out versus putting in the work? We all know that relationships take work and it's compromise, but where is that line? And so my question to you is, how did you figure out where that line was? And how did you figure out that this relationship wasn't going to get you, and I imagine your partner, what you both wanted in the relationship, and it was time to, instead of grit it out, go ahead and quit?
That's a great question, because it's a big gray area. Like there is no right or wrong answer. There's no rule book that says like, hey, like this is the exact moment. Especially, my ex-partner, he's a wonderful human. At the end of the day, we really just didn't align on a lot of things. So I think, we worked well as a team. We were very compatible. We were very efficient. That doesn't sound like a passionate relationship at all, but like there were a lot of efficiencies, a lot of comfortabilities. And I think that for a long time, just the level of comfort there was enough. But I think it was probably a few years ago that we realized that it was really like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And I think that no amount of work would have made us compatible at the end of the day. But it took years to really come to the decision that like, this isn't about someone being willing to grow enough or change enough. And it took a long time to just say like, hey, how much longer do we really want to, I hate to say waste time, but it's like I'm in my late 30s now. Like I don't want to spend another 5-10 years just trying to make something that is not ever going to work.
Yeah. Was there something in particular that you were able to point to where you decided we were way too far apart on this one thing?
Yeah, actually, that decision came pretty easily. We had been doing couples therapy and working through some differences in communication styles and maybe some things that we could try to be working on to be more compatible. And he was going to pilot training for the Air Force at the time. And I remember coming home and just saying like, I think that our marriage is in serious trouble. And he said, hey, like pilot training is just really important right now. And to me, that was the clarity of, I can't be the only one putting in 110% on this.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't a priority for him to fix, I can't make somebody want to put in the work there.
Yeah.
And it was also kind of free. It was almost a point that I gave myself permission to be like, I shouldn't be trying this hard for somebody who also isn't willing to try.
What were some of the things that you both had tried in the relationship to make it work? I imagine the therapist had some suggestions that you guys worked through some things.
Yeah. So, we definitely had differences in communication styles. I'm a very direct communicator, and he was very much avoidant in communication and trying to find ways for me to communicate that didn't feel like an attack to him, and for him to open up, to feel vulnerable, not to communicate with me. Like those were things that we were trying to work through. So just communication, especially through conflict, was something that we were working on, and it tried. Like tips on trying to bring a little bit more. I always felt like I was kind of deprioritized to the Air Force career, and I something that he was working on was like, trying to frame some dates and ideas around things that would be things that I would be more interested in. And just remembering like, hey, just because you want to go to a cigar bar every Friday, like that doesn't mean that's what your wife wants to do every Friday.
Right.
So just being a little bit more intentional about, learning each other's love languages better, being better partners and showing up for each other in ways that resonated with each other's love languages versus just something that would be something like that I would want to receive or they would want to receive. It's like, you need to show up in a way that is in a way that your partner likes to receive.
Yeah, that is very smart advice. Yeah. We don't always speak the same languages.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the crux of the love language theory, right? Which is I may receive in a love language that's different than you. And so, but I'm more likely to give you what I enjoy.
Exactly.
And so if my love language is acts of service, I may show you love by doing acts of service. And it may be totally lost on you because your love language might be physical touch, for example. And so if I'm not giving you physical touch, you're not feeling that love. I found myself in that in some of my relationships as well.
Yeah. And that was, one of the big exercises that we did work on was learning love languages. And it turns out his is very much like gift giving.
Okay.
And mine is quality time and physical touch. And so his way of trying to show love would be buying me a gift. And that was actually at the bottom of my list. Like honestly, almost a 0 from being. So for me, that wasn't a way that I felt loved.
Yeah.
And kind of same thing for him. I'm not a big gift giver. And so for me, it's that wasn't he was maybe not feeling like he was getting the love that he needed, because mine is just about quality time and physical touch. But I didn't always know the right present to give or something that would be very meaningful. So trying to learn to speak each other's love languages was something I would highly recommend doing much earlier in a relationship.
Yeah, I agree. It's also tough when you learn these lessons along the way and just creates a lot of baggage in the relationship, and it's hard to be vulnerable again and keep trying and open up when you in the past have been hurt. And yeah, it's hard to get over those patterns and those things, to let someone in again and again and again. For a partner who has a partner that has a love language of quality time and physical touch, what are some ways that they can give quality time and physical touch that would resonate in your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, just as simple as, coming in the door and giving somebody a hug, or, just putting your arm around me, or suggesting, hey, let's get out for a walk. It's beautiful outside. Those are all ways to say hey, I'm thinking of you. I really I want to be close to you. I want to do something together. Those are just little simple things.
Yeah. What's funny is in the past, because I'm an active service person, so I would have heard those things and been that's not love. Whatever. Those seem so basic, and I would kind of ignore it. That can't be really what she needs for love, right? I'm going to keep doing things for her. For anyone listening who's that can't be right. Just doing those things isn't enough. For someone whose love language is those things, that is enough. That is showing love, and they will absolutely feel that from you. I had a therapist who gave me some really good advice. I had a partner whose love language was words of affirmation. And that's probably the hardest one for me to give naturally. And she asked me, do you ever just think to yourself, wow, she looks really pretty right now? Or that was a really insightful thing that she just said. And I was like, yeah, all the time. She was like, just say it. In the moment.
Yes.
Don't even think about it. Just blurt out what you just thought in your head. And I was like, that sounds okay.
You're that's actually much more simple than I thought it was.
Yeah, that's pretty easy, actually. And I started doing that, and it did feel a little weird because I just wasn't used to saying those things out loud, and I didn't come from a words of affirmation family. Yeah. Right? But once I started doing that, it really made a difference. So right now, I just try to cover all my bases.
You look really pretty today. Do you want to go for a walk today? Yeah. Here's something I brought that thank you.
Yeah. Every time I walk by my girlfriend now, I just put my hand on her back as I walk by. I think she appreciates it, and I want to cover all my bases and make her feel loved. So yeah, it's not something that originally came naturally to me, but it's something that has become more natural over time because we just get the reps in, and I guess you at first intellectualize this is what they need to feel loved, and I want them to feel loved. So anyway.
No, I think that's important. And I also think that, as I am dating again, learning things like the other person's love language much earlier and learning about their communication style and just being upfront and vulnerable about what do these things mean to me is just helping to set you up for success.
Absolutely. I also think, and this is really a theory that I've been thinking about more recently, is that maybe men in particular feel like if we're just hanging out and things seem to be going well, then everything's fine, right? And women feel this need for more connection because hanging out and things being fine isn't enough to feel that love and intimacy. Because I was just reading in this book, there are really 5 categories of intimacy. There's intellectual, emotional, physical, sexual, and spiritual. And so if, say, on an intellectual level, we're hanging out and enjoying conversation, that's great, but you're missing 4 other areas, right?
Yeah.
So I think what tends to happen is that men, well, there'll be an argument or a conflict because, and I know I'm saying women, I'm painting with a broad brush here, okay? But a woman might say, hey, I'm upset. I don't feel like we're connected. I'm unhappy in the relationship. And at that point, maybe the guy will step up and start showing a little bit more affection or love in the ways that she wants. And then things get good again. And then he falls back to this default of like, okay, well, everything's fine now. Everything's good. And so we're just hanging out and nothing's wrong. And if everything can just be cool. And I was that guy, by the way. And what I've realized is that you have to put in some inputs all along the way to make your partner feel loved. And then you avoid the big conflict moments. You can't just show nothing and then when there's a conflict, show love.
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation because I think that you're exactly right. Like you shouldn't wait for those problem moments to arise to show your interest, show that affection, and then just kind of coast back to that level. Because as a woman, I agree. It's like we want to be courted, we want to be wooed a little bit, we want to be swept off our feet a little bit, and I think whether you're just newly dating or have been in a long-term relationship, like always keep dating that person, always keep being curious, always keep being playful.
Yeah.
And I think that you really hit it on the head there about not just sliding back to that default, well, everything's fine. Because I, again, painting with a broad brush, I think that for a lot of men, it just seems to be like, oh, well, but like we're not fighting. We generally seem to be happy. Like things are fine.
Right.
Fine is not always fine.
Exactly. And when people talk about the work of a relationship, I think we tend to think of that as conflict. So it's when my partner's upset and we are in conflict and we have to come up with a resolution or compromise, that requires a lot of work. I think that there's a lot more to the work, which is it's putting in those inputs, and it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just sometimes it requires some time and energy and attention to show up a little bit every day. It's writing that little note to her in the morning saying, have a good day, and slapping it on her coffee mug before she wakes up. Those types of things I still classify as work because it requires some energy. It's not just about those conflict moments.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I like the idea of proactive work. Like don't wait for there to be conflict to be putting in the work.
Yes.
And I think like the little proactive things, that goes a long ways.
So has your perception of marriage changed at all?
Perception of marriage. I think that I would be very satisfied having a life partner or something very long-term and secure without the legalities of marriage. I think if it was something that was very important to my partner, it's something I would consider. But I also think that there's a lot of beautiful relationships that exist that like don't have the government paperwork tied to it.
Yeah.
So I think that especially, growing up, it was always like, you get married, you have the kids, you have the house, you have the car, like the whole picture was just like all these little check marks. And I think that for me, I kind of just smashed a lot of those boxes. And yeah, I would consider it if it was something that was very important to somebody else. But I think that the legality of marriage is less important than the actual relationship and the way that you are really intentional with your partner versus like the legality of it.
Yeah. Did you want to get married originally? Was there something about marriage as a concept that appealed to you?
Yes, I think it was just because like it's what my parents did. It's what my grandparents did. It's probably what their grandparents did. And I think that it's just a very traditional and cultural, just like next step. And I think it was just always kind of like the no-brainer. It's like, hey, like this is what's next.
Right. Right. So what kind of relationship, if you could hang a picture for what that relationship would look like, what would that be?
In the future, I want somebody that I will always be able to explore with. I want somebody who is just as passionate about traveling, learning new skills, being just very open and growth minded, and is always working to improve themselves. And I also think that as somebody who gave up a lot of myself along the way, I want somebody who is going to really value their independence. Because I value mine, and it's something I don't want to give up again. So I think, being people who have our own passions and our own directions, but that those work well together and we can really help support and fuel each other, both as, couple goals as well as individual goals. I think that will be something that's very important.
Do you have an opinion on moving in together? Would you live with someone again?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Obviously not right away. I think that like that would be crazy to just jump right in.
Right.
But I think that you don't really understand your relationship with someone until you live together, because it changes everything.
Okay, you're scaring the shit out of me because my girlfriend is moving here and we're going to move in together.
Well, you're about to learn a lot about each other.
Okay.
And it's not a bad thing. It's like, it's mostly a good thing. Hopefully it's a big growth thing for you. But it's crazy how, sharing a space, you suddenly learn people's micro habits. Like you learn where they like to leave their toothbrush, some of their little isms that you might not have known, because we all have our own individual lifestyles and places we put things and ways that we do things. And I think when you go from dating and having your own separate space to really melding your lives together, I almost think that like moving in together is almost a bigger step than like the whole marriage thing.
Yeah.
Because moving in, like you're putting your lives together.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to learn each other really quickly.
My girlfriend makes fun of me because I wash my hands all the time in the kitchen. So if I touch anything, like if I grab something out of the freezer, even if it's an enclosed package, I'm like, my hand feels like I need to wash it for some reason.
But at least she already knows this about you. Like this won't be new information.
Yeah, she knows all my serial killer traits. Well, we haven't moved in together yet. Maybe there's some I don't even know about that she's going to discover. Yeah,
but I mean, like for you even, it's probably going to be like finding a lot more hair in the bathroom because like we shed a lot. Like that's...
I'd already experienced
yes. So I would absolutely live with, and I would recommend it too. Like if you are with somebody that you think is your long-term person, I think it's a really cool next step. But yeah, I mean, I don't think it needs to be scary, but it's definitely, you learn a lot about each other by, I would say like you start dating, take a road trip together, spend some time in a car for a long extended period of time, take a long weekend. And then as things progress, move in together. Like if it's kind of, it levels things up.
Yeah. So my girlfriend and I had a lot of conversations about this ahead of time because we wanted to set ourselves up for success.
Good.
Yes. One thing I know about myself is that because I do lean avoidant, I need a lot of space, and my fear is a loss of independence and a loss of freedom. So how do you retain that freedom and autonomy while living in the same space with someone? Something that I love so much about living by myself is that when I close the door to my apartment, the world is outside and I am by myself and I can just do what I want and think my own thoughts and I'm not going to be interrupted. And it's so nice and comforting. Like my nervous system feels so relaxed because of that.
Yeah.
And that was a conversation that we had. And one thing I love about her is that she doesn't take anything personally. She understands my attachment style. She is such a secure, safe place. And so I can just say any of this. And she's like, okay, that makes sense. Let's figure out how we can set ourselves up. So we are talking about doing a 2-bedroom apartment so that if one of us needs some alone time, we can go into the other room and have that alone time and it's not a big deal. We've also talked about budgeting for hey, if we need a weekend, go take a trip, like go somewhere, or even if you need a Airbnb for a weekend, go do that. And we're not going to take it personally. It's just you need some space, and great, go do that. So I think having those conversations ahead of time, I know it can be exciting with the first time you have these feelings and you want to move in together and you're excited about moving the relationship forward. It's good to have some of those conversations in advance so you can prepare and set yourself up for success.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of already answered it. Like, I think the best thing to be able to do is to have that communication in advance and just say like, hey, these are the things that I really need. I'm not going to this is not me pushing you away, because I'm also somebody that needs my own space and I need to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
And especially, living downtown in an urban environment, like it's hard to find a lot of space. Right. And I think the idea of getting a place that, it's not your place that she's coming into. It's not her place that you're going into. It's a place that you two are going to be starting together, and having a 2-bedroom setup where, you've got that extra room, you've got kind of your own escape. And then just knowing and having that communication up front. It's like, hey, like if one of us needs to get out of town for a minute, like that's okay. I think just setting up that kind of that healthy boundary at the beginning of like, if I'm not talking to you and I'm not sitting right next to you on the couch 24 hours a day, like that doesn't mean that I don't love you. That doesn't mean that I'm not interested in you. I think that's setting yourself up for success there.
Yeah, absolutely. And a piece of that is knowing yourself, going back to what we were talking about, is doing that inner work and understanding how we tick, because you don't understand it and can't communicate it to your partner to let them know, hey, this isn't about you. I know this is about me. And here's how we can work through this if you're patient with me.
Yeah. And I think that by having those open and honest communications, it's also how you stop from resentment building, because when you're not communicating about the things that you need, it can be very easy to become resentful if somebody isn't meeting that expectation, where it's like, you haven't even communicated that. Right. How would she know? Like if you say like you tend to lean a little bit of point, it's like, if you're not saying like, hey, this drives me absolutely crazy, like then your partner might not even know that that's something that you need.
Right.
So I think that's like, setting yourself up for success there is by keeping the communication lines open.
Yeah.
And just like respecting that from each other too.
Did you and your former partner do check-ins?
It was something that we had never done before we started going to marriage counseling. And I like the concept of a check-in. We should have started doing it so much sooner, because like it's such a healthy thing to check in and just say like, hey, here are some things that are going really well. Here are some things that like hurt my feelings this week. Here are some things that like I'm working on. I think like the idea of a check-in is such a healthy thing.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I need to be better at suggesting the check-ins. I think that's such a guy thing to be the one who doesn't suggest the check-ins. My girlfriend does a good job of being like, hey, like, would you be open to doing a check-in like later this week? And I'm like, yeah, of course, that's probably a good idea. That's great. I've heard of 4 categories of things to check in on. You mentioned a couple of them. What are some things that are going well, or what went well this week? Some things that maybe hurt my feelings, but things that I felt like could use improvement. The third being questions, which could be positive or negative, but really just, hey, I was just wondering about this thing. Like you were acting a little sad the other day. I didn't want to bring anything up at the time, but just curious, did I clock that correctly? What was going on? And then the fourth thing, which I really, really love this one, which is, what is something that I can do for you this upcoming week that will make you feel loved? Holy shit, such an unlock. Like it's asking your partner, give me some specifics so I can follow through for you. Let me show up for you. And it shows them I want to show up for you by asking that question, but just feels good in and of itself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, because it's giving yourself a way to show up for somebody in a way that's going to be meaningful to them. And I think something about the check-ins that we were working with the marriage counselor was, making sure, and something I said or that you said that I really liked is, your girlfriend can take things not personally. In a check-in, it's so important to take the ego out of it.
Yeah.
Because it can be so easy to be like, oh, well, like I felt this way because of this. And by keeping kind of your ego out of it and just being receptive to like how you might have affected somebody or how something might have been perceived, even if that wasn't your intention.
Right.
Like the check-in, keeping it neutral and just being open is so important.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's hard sometimes. I think you lose sight that this person has the best intentions. They're not trying to hurt us.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a loving relationship with someone, if they hurt your feelings,
they should not be trying to hurt your feelings.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, there are some just shitty people out there. Okay, fair enough. But if you're in a loving relationship with someone, their intent is to make you feel loved, right? And so a lot of times they're just not thinking. They just did something that hurt you, right?
Yeah.
And so one is just reminding ourselves that this person has the best intentions, A, and then B, we create narratives around what things mean. So if he walked in the door and went straight to his office instead of giving me the hug, that means that he doesn't care about me, or he's prioritizing this over that, or whatever. And likely it's just he was, heads down thinking about something, and it's such an opportunity to then say, hey, when you walked in the door, and getting really specific and not, starting with, you don't care about me, right? Just saying, hey, you walked in the door and you walked directly to the office. I know you didn't mean anything by that. It hurt my feelings. In the future, if you could, when you walk in, if you could give me a hug, that would just make me feel so loved. That message or that way of communicating is such a softer, sweeter way of saying, I was hurt and I don't like the way you did the thing.
Yeah.
If you could change that in the future, that would be great. Going back to dating, is there anything that was unexpectedly hard or unexpectedly easy about dating again?
Oh my gosh. I think the hardest thing is going from being wifey level and being in constant communication and in sync with somebody to, hey, I met somebody new. We're probably not going to text for a week, or like I might not hear from them for days at a time.
Yeah.
And just kind of dialing back my communication so that I'm not coming across as a crazy person. Like starting something over and so fresh, it's just remembering like kind of the levels of communication are going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably been the biggest thing, is like establishing new communication with somebody where, like, with my last partner, it's like, you were with somebody for almost 10 years. I'm texting them the most random thoughts at all hours of the day. Mm-hmm. And that was perfectly normal and acceptable. But like, obviously you're not trying to spam somebody new that you are just starting to talk to.
Right. That is how you get the crazy time.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. So just going from being in a very long-term relationship with somebody to starting over and really learning somebody from scratch, like that's, and I talk to other friends divorced, out of long-term relationships, regardless of that. It's like, if you've had a long-term partner and you were just now starting to date again, like that level of communication is just remembering that this is something that is so new.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet there is a calibration process that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It's like, at first it'd be like, this person hasn't texted me for like 24 hours. Like, clearly they're not interested. And the expectation's like, chill out a little bit. Like, let's remember that we are all individual humans that have our own lives.
Right.
And that like, this is something that is so new.
Yeah. Yeah. Communication styles is a really interesting thing in early dating.
Yeah.
Because it is hard to understand if someone is into you, if they're not texting you in 2 or 3 days. But you're right. I guess you just kind of have to sit back and kind of feel it out, let it progress how it's going to progress.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the strangest modern dating behavior that you've experienced so far?
Ooh, strangest modern dating behavior. I would say, especially when I was starting to use the apps, people will just quit communication with you with absolutely no explanation.
Yeah.
Like none.
So is this when you're in the app and you're talking and they'll just stop? Or are you saying you've been out on a date or two?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. And that floored me when it first happened. And it's something that I actually adjusted to really quickly, because all of a sudden it was like, like I don't want to be wasting someone's time. I don't want someone wasting my time. And I wouldn't even say like fully ghosting, but just, I think it is a very strange behavior just to completely cut communication with somebody with absolutely no explanation.
I agree. It is a weird part of our dating culture. I remember when I was first on Tinder, I mean, this was 10 plus years ago, and I had a match and I didn't want to continue the conversation, and I was agonizing over it. And I was talking to my friends, because this was when dating apps was first starting, and I was like, I don't want to see this girl or continue this conversation. What do I do?
Yeah.
And they're like, you just don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to give them a response or tell them. And I was like, it felt weird, but then it became so normal. And now it has become so normal to everyone that no one closes the loop.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lack of accountability because we don't move in the same social circles. You're talking to a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And so that person knows, well, I can just ghost them or stop communicating with them and no one will ever know.
Yeah.
So I think it's a problem. It feels weird.
It does feel so weird. I will say, and like, it's something that I hate to say it feels normal now, but yeah, as far as like modern dating behavior, it is wild that you will just completely X somebody out with no closed loop.
So I'm wondering, I'm just thinking through a thought experiment. So if we had a mutual friend, okay, and they put us in touch, right, to date, and we were chatting over text, and we both decided we didn't want to go out on the date because there was some fundamental incompatibility.
Yeah.
Would one or both of us reach out and say, hey, really great chatting with you, but I don't feel like there's a spark to go out?
I think there should be that communication.
Yeah.
I think that just human decency and being, I don't know, like mature communication, I think I would much rather hear like, hey, I'm just really not feeling a spark here.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you the best.
Yeah.
Is so much nicer than just completely disappearing.
Yeah, because then you're left sitting for 2 or 3 days because you don't know if someone's interested, right? Because you're not. So the people who are interested, it takes 2 or 3 days to hear from them. And the ones who aren't interested, it just forever you won't hear from them. Yeah. So you're wondering in that 2 or 3 day period, like, am I going to hear from them or not? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think that's the strangest modern day behavior is just the disappearing act.
That is a good call out.
And it's something that like I have even found myself guilty of here and there. And sometimes it's unintentional. Sometimes it's like, we just might not have clicked. And then I'm busy. I literally will just forget. And then all of a sudden be like, well, it's been a little long now. Now it's a little bit past that threshold. Yeah. So yeah, but it's strange.
Yeah, agreed. I want to go back to something you said earlier about if you have a random thought that you could just text it to your partner. And it made me think while you were saying that, that's one of the things I love about being in a relationship because I can send those weird random
they're
thoughts.
your person. They're here for it.
Yeah, and getting a response back like, you're so weird, or like, that's so funny, or
but you're comfortable enough to be like, yeah, you're so weird.
Yeah.
But I love you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's so nice having those little bits of connection and have someone understand you. Anyway, my point is, I had a bigger question, which I think a lot of people are struggling with these days. What are the benefits of being in a relationship when we are generally, or a lot of people propose to be, so happy being single?
Yeah, and that's a really great question. And it's something that I even find myself like wondering about because as I'm building this life here and my community here, my girlfriends and I will joke, we're like, what do we need a man for? We literally have each other. Mm-hmm. We take each other out on nice dates. We take each other out to good restaurants. We take each other on picnics. And I think that is a really good question about like, where does the value of a relationship come in when we have these platonic relationships that are very satisfying and let's be honest, like a lot less drama and maybe a little bit less work.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
you have any thoughts?
I mean, I think that, finding somebody that you want to build a life with, if that's something that's important to you, is beautiful. Mm-hmm. I think that also there's a big cultural shift where a lot of us are just very satisfied with our own big, beautiful lives.
Yeah.
So I really, at the end of the day, you need to consider, are you ready for that kind of partnership? Or is that something that you desire? Or are you happy with where you're at? And I think that now more than ever before, we don't need to have a husband or a wife. We don't need to have the kids right away. And I think that people are very satisfied with their own individual lives. And I don't think it's necessarily a problem, but it is a big cultural shift.
Yep.
Because that's new.
That is very new. That is very new. So before I met my partner, I was very much with the mindset of I probably will not be in a long-term marriage-oriented relationship.
Yeah.
I am so happy with my life. I have so many wonderful friends and I have a great job and I get to travel and I don't have to compromise on anything. And here's the avoidant part coming out, right? Like, I have full freedom and autonomy. Life is good. And I kind of viewed things as a binary set of paths. So path number one was I can continue being single and dating. I would have these really great relationships. I was very upfront about the fact that I was not dating for long term. So what I was saying was, I'm not your guy if you're looking for a long-term partnership. If you want someone to go out on dates with and have fun, that's great, right? And so I would have these really great friendships, right? And I was like, I can just keep doing this for the rest of my life. And I'm getting, it's not perfect, right? Because there's a level of deepness that you're sacrificing by doing that. But at the same time, I also was getting all of the freedom that I wanted. And so I thought, hey, this path sounds great, right? Then on the other path, in my previous experience, in the patterns that I had and recognized in those relationships, there was a lot of emotional turmoil and stress, and my nervous system was always activated. And so it did not feel good to be in those types of deep, intimate relationships. They were just fraught with stress. And I did not want that path. And then I guess there's this third path, which I viewed as this unicorn path, which is, well, I can have all of my freedom and autonomy, and I can meet someone who gives me the richness and the deep intimacy and all of these things. And I was like, but that third path is not possible. So I'm just going to stay on path number one. That's okay. Not everyone needs to be in a relationship. And then I met my girlfriend, and she is a unicorn in a lot of ways. And I am somehow on this third path where she gives me the space that I need. It does require me to be able to communicate, to be able to understand my emotions, be able to understand my narratives. There was a lot of inner work that had to take place to get me on that third path to make that possible. But it does exist. And I think that if I could talk to my 40-year-old self who was struggling with this 3-path hypothesis, I would have said that the benefits to going for that deeper relationship is having a companion who you can send those little texts to throughout the day and have those connection moments. And there is a level of intimacy that feels so nice. Like I almost feel stupid saying you feel seen by someone, but it's true. Like, it does feel nice to be seen and share things with someone. And I find that I'm more productive in what I do because she really supports what I do. And I can tell her I'm stressed about something and she'll have space for it. And that'll make me feel better to then continue doing the thing that I'm doing, versus when I'm alone, I'm just stressed, right? And I don't have an ear, right? And then the other thing that I'll say, a good friend of mine told me, or asked me the question rather, have you thought about what your life will be like when you lose someone really close to you, like you lose a parent, or if you get really sick or something really tumultuous happens in your life, who are you going to lean on? And I didn't have a very good answer for that. And I was kind of punting that question. And I'm not saying that people should enter into romantic relationships so that someone will take care of them. But it is nice knowing that I have someone who can be a support when I end up in those situations. So I think in general, we all don't do such a great job of projecting ourselves into the future to see what life is going to look like, because this really awesome single life that we have right now might look way different in 5 years or 10 years, especially when our amazing friends have their own families or their own responsibilities, or again, like a parent gets sick in our lives, and our friends who may be close, but not that close to be able to spend the type of time and energy that you would want them to spend with you. Those are all considerations. And I think those are some of the benefits of long-term relationships we don't always think about readily.
Yeah. And that's a really great point, just because you're right. Like those friends, they'll take care of you to an extent, because like they're not your family at the end of the day.
Right.
And I think that, you wouldn't enter a relationship just to be like, all right, you're going to take care of me when I'm old. You're going to take care of me when I'm sick. But it's a much more intimate level than probably some even of your deepest friendships.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What is the best date that you've been on recently? And what is the worst date you've been on recently?
Okay. All right. Best date recently, actually, I had somebody who planned all logistics and sent me exactly where I needed to be, the time, the place. And it was, they took me surprise ice skating.
That's so fun.
Yeah, it was really fun, but I didn't know based on the messaging, I didn't know and this was somebody that I'd met previously. Like, this was not somebody that was through an app. This was not the first time meeting a stranger. It wasn't like, hey, come to this unknown address. But yeah, I was prepared to do anything from being outdoors, being active, going on a walk to a hike, and it ended up being a surprise ice skating date. And we had so much fun, and it felt like letting our inner children play for a little bit. And it was really sweet.
That was really sweet. I have noticed women talking about men who don't plan the date. They're just like, what do you want to do? When are you free? Rather than saying, hey, there's this really cool cocktail bar that I've been wanting to check out. Are you free Friday at 8? Just like say the plan.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a point that, like, if the effort level is not there to put a plan in place, I'm just not entertaining it at this point.
I agree. Yeah.
So if a man can't put together a time, a place, and what we're going to be doing, at least for the first couple, I'm not saying that you need to be responsible for this for the entirety of a relationship. But at least in the beginning, I think that's something we're not entertaining this year.
I get that. I wonder if there's a percentage of guys who just worry about doing the wrong thing or proposing the wrong date or coming across as too forward. I'm just going to say directly to those guys, don't worry about that. If they don't like the plan, they'll say something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if we don't like the plan, we'll just make a tweak or just say like, hey, instead of this, like, could we meet here? But the effort of just like putting, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. Like, it doesn't have to be some like grand gesture, but just like picking a time, a place, a location it goes a long ways.
There's been this recent trend that women say they won't accept a first date that is anything other than a dinner or something that is, let me say it another way. They won't accept a coffee or a walk because they feel like that's too low effort. How do you feel about that?
I kind of disagree with that. I prefer for something to be, I wouldn't even say low effort. I think like low pressure is a big idea for me, especially if I'm meeting someone new for the first time. Like, I don't know if I want to be stuck at a dinner table with you for 2 hours. And I don't know if I would much rather grab a coffee and go for a walk and just have something be very casual and low threat at the beginning. And then maybe like second date, do something a little bit more elaborate. But
I agree with you completely.
But yeah, I would prefer something a little bit more casual than dinner for a first date.
Yeah. And I get the theory behind it. Like, they're trying to weed out low effort men or men who have a roster who are just throwing out like, hey, I'm going to do like 10 coffees this week, right? And they're just playing a numbers game and whatever. But I think that there's no shortcut here. I think if you want to find a guy who's intentionally dating, you just have to watch his actions over time and see if they align. And I think one of the ways to do that is to see, do they make a plan? Are they intentional about that plan?
Yeah.
Do they follow through on that plan? And then look at date number 2 and 3. Are they listening to things that I'm saying? And are they planning dates around things that I'm saying? Those are all data to look at. But I think excluding guys from a first date because they want to do a vibe check over a coffee or a walk, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think I like how you called it a vibe check too, because I want to make sure, like, do we even click as people before we expend any more energy into this? And I think that doing something a little bit more casual just takes a lot of the pressure off of it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah, because like the idea, like that actually gives me anxiety. The idea of being like, oh gosh, like I would hate to go to like a big fancy dinner as a first date. Like that's so much pressure.
Yeah. That also feels a bit like an interview sometimes. When you're like sitting across the table, feels like a stuffy restaurant. Yeah.
I think something you said that I really liked that I actually read recently is, collecting things as data and just start to notice patterns, start to notice consistencies or inconsistencies and just collect. There's no shortcut button for that. So I really like your take on that is like, just at the beginning, like we are just collecting data and we can't fast forward that process.
Yes. Yeah. That was a better way of saying that. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think all too often people are looking for the one data point and they say, I'm done. I'm going to exclude that person because of that one thing. So what was the worst date that you've been on recently?
Okay. It was a few months ago now, but it was a second date and a gentleman offered to cook dinner. I was like, this would be really lovely, could be really romantic. So I went over to his place. He offered to cook dinner and I was, trying to be a little flirty. I was like, what can I help with? He literally hands me a box with a lamp in it, an unassembled lamp, and says, you can put this together.
What?
Yes. Like,
that's crazy.
It struck me as absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. I was like, okay, so you're just going to be cooking and I'm just going to be over here putting together this lamp?
What's that app for when you want maintenance people like to come over? Like it's a handyman
like
app?
Angie's List or something?
Yeah. Like you were Angie's listed.
I guess so. And I think by surprise, he's like, well, you can't put that together, right? And I was like, I'm a very helpful person. I like to be helpful. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, let me put this together.
Did you put it together?
I did. I put together that lamp.
I would too.
Best put together lamp this man has ever had.
I bet it was. I would too, because I would just be like, it would be too awkward to say no. But what a wild request. Like, obviously you met with dinner.
Yeah, I mean, at least I had a nice dinner cooked for me.
That's good.
Yeah, at least I had a nice dinner cooked for me. Needless to say, there was not a third date.
I think that's a good example where that data point alone is enough.
I called my friend when I was sleeping. I was like, you will never believe like the direction this took.
That is an amazing first date story.
Yeah, and I don't think it wasn't anything horrific. Yeah. It was just so weird.
Yeah, that is so red flaggy in like a weird way, right?
Yeah, I posted something on my Instagram about like getting donuts at a farmer's market a couple days later, and he goes, "Where's mine?" I was like, "Sir, I put together furniture for you. Yeah, like you aren't getting donuts." So.
Oh my god!
Yeah, that was the end of that exchange.
I imagine. Holy smokes! Okay, for someone who is going through a divorce and they're feeling intimidated about getting back out there, what thoughts do you have for them?
I mean, I guess you have to do what feels right for you. Like if you don't feel like you are ready, then don't rush yourself. But if you do, like don't let that hold you back. And I think something I still struggle with a little bit is like how and when to bring forth this information. Like when is the right time to tell somebody that you're interested in? Like, hey, I'm going through a divorce right now. Technically, I'm still married. And so that's still kind of like that sticky area for me that I'm still navigating is like, when is the right time to tell somebody this information? And that can be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
Or just like a little bit like, there is no right answer for that. So for me, it's like just trying to fill it out, because like you don't want to find yourself waiting too long where all of a sudden this information is going to be very weird information if you wait too long to bring it forth. But it's like, you also don't want to lead with that. Be like, hi, I'm Megan. I'm going through a divorce. Like it's a really unique time of life.
Yeah.
But like, we only live this one life, and I don't want to put myself on hold just while I'm going through what is the equivalent of, like a breakup with paperwork.
Right. Right. That is what it is. It's a breakup with paperwork.
It's a breakup with paperwork.
Yeah.
Especially in my case, the divorce is very amicable. Like there's no hostility. There's like, he doesn't even live in this city. And I think for me, Austin was such a fresh start that I came in here with such a clean slate that, yeah, it's like, I would just say like, don't put your own life on hold if you want to get out there.
Yeah.
But just like, don't feel like you have to either.
I think that's really good advice.
So,
to wait till you're ready and feeling good.
Yeah.
If someone were ready, what would be the first step that you would tell them to take?
Just rip that Band-Aid off and go on that awkward first date. Like it's going to be weird. It's going to feel strange, and just go into it not with the expectation of like, I'm looking for my forever person, versus like, hey, I'm just going to go in and like just experience this for the first time, or learn something about myself, or, meet somebody new that could even be a friend down the road. I've definitely had some first dates that I've made friends through this process. Like one of my good friends here, we met on Hinge, and we went on like a coffee walk, and then a possible like could have been like a date-ish situation. And we just decided like, hey, we're actually like, we get along really well as friends. I think going in with the mindset that like this person doesn't need to be your forever person, and like that shouldn't even be your expectation. Like just go in and see, like, meet someone new. Yeah. Take that chance.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. To end this podcast, can you tell me something that people don't generally learn about you until they really get to know you?
Sure. I'm a huge nerd. Like I love Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. And I think just we see people surface level, and we don't necessarily know that like there's like the biggest nerd. So yeah, I'm a nerdy girl at the surface, or like underneath.
Nice. And if there are guys out there who are interested in taking you out on a date, are you open to that?
Yes, I'm open right now.
So how would they reach you? Through Instagram?
I'm available on Instagram.
Okay, so they can slide into your DMs?
Yeah, that's like, it's a bold move, and I'm open.
Okay, and what is I'll put it in the caption. What is your Instagram? MKberg11,
so MKBERG 11.
Perfect. All right, well, Megan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. This was a lot of fun.